Hey everybody, it's Ron at Becoming Enlightened Together. So we're here for another reading. Actually, I'm going to be doing two readings that will pretty much knock out this week. So as a recap, last week what we had as far as the overall encompassing energy, and all the readings supported this too, by the way. I mean, there were a couple of things that could have been a little iffy about it, but for the most part, all the readings more or less were working in conjunction with what I'm saying here. And by that, what I'm saying is I saw as the overall energy last week, which was in the upright, talked about how our best course of action was literally just to go within, meditate, reflect, seek clarity in our answers, and do nothing. Don't make any major decisions or don't make any real physical, tangible efforts, last week. Whereas this week we have, again, I saw. But I saw as the overall energy is in the reverse this time. So it means exactly the opposite thing. It talks about how it is time to act. It's time to move. Okay? So whatever it was that you reflected upon, you were looking for answers for, I mean, even if you don't feel as though you have all the specifics about it, right now we're basically being told it's time, for us to do something, to act, and it could be something small. A couple of the readings that we pulled out last week seemed to intimate that it was basically about just standing your ground. So your actions are when confronted with whatever situation it is for you personally, and it will be different for everybody. But somebody, or you're going to be in some type of a situation where you're being forced to stand your ground on something. And that's basically what you are being instructed to do. Stand your ground. Be of good courage. Be strong. And all of that, okay? Now, some of the other meanings for I saw in the reverse are basically things such as a breach of loyalty, somebody who is an egomaniac, somebody who's dull, blind, treacherous, somebody who is, in a constant state of illusion, deception. They are very deceptive. And betrayal is nothing for this person or people, whoever they are. Somebody or some bodies filled with guile. They're very stealthy in how they move. So ambushes, plans, plots, and schemes, all part of this particular energy for this week. And that's the overall encompassing energy, in spite of the daily energy that we're pulling out. Okay, so for this first reading, our past energy was that of a Yera, and Yera in this case is in the reverse. Okay, so Yera in the reverse basically talks about whatever you've been investing in will fall apart. In other words, what you reap, or you reap what you've sown. So, and this message seems to be directly focused upon somebody who has been doing quite a bit, well, I just say whatever it was, either in thought or in deed, that were not in the best interests of anybody, maybe except for themselves, and not even really themselves, since karma is a big part of this energy. So whatever they've been investing in is coming back, and it's not good, whatever it was. All right. So basically, we're talking about how fruition, or that which you've been putting effort in, cannot be, well, it can't be rushed. It happens in its own time, or God's timing, as we often hear said. Okay. So there are also going to be major changes, setbacks, something in regards to repetition as well is covered in this energy. Bad timing, conflict, and poverty. And we're going to see that echoed quite a few times in this particular reading. In fact, the next rune that we have for the present energy, it is the goddess Freya's rune. It's Fehu, but this is in the reverse. So where ordinarily it talks about abundance, that which you have earned, and so on. Now we're talking about that which you put effort into, or failed to put effort into, I should say. It could go either way in this regard, because what it's saying is it's failing or it's dissipating. it is not successful. In fact, it's going to fall apart, according to what this is saying. So, what it's intimating here as well is, let's just say, words such as greed, financial loss, loss of something that you desperately tried to put effort into keeping, disappointments, um, failures, burnout, atrophy. Talks about cowardice. Somebody didn't step up. Um, they do all their work in the shadows, you know, just like most cowards, they come off one way, whether it be with a smile, whatever the case may be, but behind the scenes, they're slandering, they're doing their friggin' magic or whatever the hell they're doing. And when I say magic, now it's not always, people dressed up in black robes and candles and, doing some kind of ceremonial, either orgy or maybe afterwards, after a sacrifice of some kind, It doesn't necessarily have to be that. It's just somebody who's really focused, with, let's just say, intent that is meant to control or trying to manifest an outcome for you, which is typically not a positive one. So somebody who's just, filled with envy or malice or strife or guile or any of the other words that, I've already used today. So that can also be or come across as being a form of magic, because in a sense you are manipulating energy with your particular, your feelings. Because in terms of manifesting something, it's not just about what you're thinking or feeling or want. It's the intent behind it and the intensity of the emotions you put behind it that manifest that something into your life. So if somebody is trying to manifest, or everything that they're thinking about is just very, very negative concerning you, it can come across as being magic, okay? I just want to make that perfectly clear. Although they could in fact be, gathering together in groups and doing their hokey shit. They think it's working, but at least from the in most of these cases that I'm seeing, it's not having much of an impact upon the collective at all. In fact, if anything, it's more like a warm breeze or something, maybe slightly uncomfortable, but beyond that, it has absolutely no staying power or impact upon you. It's going to go right back to whom it was that actually projected it your way. So, for those out there who are of the karmic persuasion, if you're not already feeling it, and even if you are, you can expect a great deal more of that to come your way. You are going to reap what you sow. Okay, that's what this reading is completely all about. Now, our obstacles and challenges is that of Wunyo, and this is the wishing rune, and it's in the upright. So how can that be an obstacle and a challenge? Because what it's telling you is that Wunyo is joy that you can trust because you earned it. Now, what the rest of this reading is saying is somebody didn't earn it. They didn't do anything, in fact, that was right to try to get the outcome that they were looking for. They tried to use ill-gotten means. I'll just leave it at that. It could be a multitude of things that they did that were all vile, negative, and they tried to produce in their lives some type of outcome instead of doing the work. So that's why it's, filed basically under obstacles and challenges. So ordinarily it would mean harmony and blessings and affection and desire, pleasure, fellowship, prosperity, ecstasy, glory, spiritual rewards and success, recognition of one's worth. So you can say the opposite of that in their life because they chose to go the other way. They took the path that is, I'll just say, highly traveled in this world. Okay. Instead of doing what was right and being authentic in their lives, they chose the coward's way. That's just the way it is. I'm sorry that you don't like what I'm saying, but that's the energy, and it is what it is. I'm going to say it. So now, as far as your help and advice is concerned, what we have is Mighty Thor's rune, Thurisaz. Now, your help and advice is basically what this means typically is the moment that you stop absorbing damage and you start pushing back. It's about defense and protection. Okay, that's what this means. So what this could be intimating for your help and advice is, even though you're getting your ass kicked, or you will be, if you stand strong, you take responsibility because you are responsible for what's happening to you right now. Nobody else. Okay? Especially if you know you've done a lot of nasty things, said a lot of nasty things, thrown people under the bus, or trying to force manipulate people to your will with your stupid games and all of that kind of stuff. That's what this is talking about. And you're going to end up paying the price for that. But if you accept, the fact that this is, it's just, I deserve this because of all the shit that I have done and so many people I've hurt along the way, um, and then start, doing the inner work to address those things that more or less caused those things, those decisions, or indecisiveness in some cases, and your lack of courage and things of that nature. Okay, so other things that Thura says in the upright talk about is basically, again, things that denote protection of some kind. The thorn, protects the flower, the delicate flower. It talks about a reactive force or a directive force of either destruction or defense. It talks about conflict, talks about an instinctual will, talks about vital eroticism, male sexuality, fertility, again, change and regeneration. So that is what you can expect. If you take this particular warning, uh, and start applying it in a positive way, okay, you can change everything around it. As long as you still have breath, you can change. But for those of you who think that, this world is simply here for you to play and to cause as much damage as you want, and you don't give it any kind of concern whatsoever, as long as you get what you want. You like to see people, acting in a particular fashion because you're playing some kind of a psychological game with them or what have you. That may have worked in the past, but I'm telling you, it's going to stop working, and it's going to end up coming back in a way that you're not expecting. And you're not going to be prepared for this, especially if you've always gotten away with it up to now. I'm telling you, everything about this reading is telling me you are about to have that mirror forced in front of you, and you're going to have to sit down in a corner while you get your ass spanked. I hate to say it, in a sense, I do, and I'm only laughing because I know how ridiculous that might have sounded, but somebody's getting sat down here. That's what this reading is about. Now, the future outcome is a little more positive. It's Prakana in the upright. Now, Prakana is a rune that's often associated with Birchta, with the Great Mother, the Birch Goddess, a goddess who looks after the flora, the fauna, the animals, young maidens, children, and so on, guides people on their journey after they pass. It's a lot of things. But what does Prakana actually mean in the upright? Well, it talks about quiet beginnings, new beginnings, okay? New beginnings. Well, the old falling away, the new coming in, but not with thunder and lightning and fireworks, and it's not done by conquest or anything of that nature. It's just talking about growth in general. It reminds us that real power often looks soft at first, okay? And a lot of people, especially those within the karmic realms, they will look at that and they will think it was something that they can easily manipulate just to have their ass handed back to them. Because they just don't know. They're just not smart enough to figure these kinds of things out because, it's just the simple fact of nature. We have to learn. Sometimes learning is an uncomfortable and often difficult journey. It is. There is no progress in learning, just like there's no muscle that you can build without some type of stress putting upon it. So no pain, no gain. And that's what they're showing here. They haven't been willing to endure any of the pain. They've always tried to put it upon other people. They've even found it amusing when they see other people in pain, especially when it's something they helped orchestrate. Well, now they're getting a lot of that right back to them. In fact, they're probably going to get what they put out plus. So that's what you can expect. So the future outcome, however, is basically it could be that of growth. Okay, it could be that what you thought was soft is actually far more powerful than you've ever imagined. And you know, new beginnings are coming, whether you want them or not. That's kind of what is happening right here around us. And today, being the 8/8 portal and everything else, is the most powerful day, you know, astrologically speaking, at least within the New Age belief system. And this actually goes back all the way to ancient Egypt and beyond, you know, where they were utilizing this particular point in time to, you know, look at the brightest star in the, you know, constellation Sirius. And other things, you know, that are talked about. And there's alignments that are happening as well. And it's supposed to be a perfect day for manifestations and so on. So if you didn't hear about this before, you didn't know about this before, that's something to think about before you go to bed tonight. You know, look out at the stars, go outside, and make your wishes known to, you know, the heavens, to your higher self, to, you know, source, to the universe, to God. Okay. All right. So what else does Berkana in the Upright talk about? It talks about growth, mental, physical, and spiritual growth. It talks about fertility, and it's focused more on the feminine aspects in this regard, whereas Thursday deals with the masculine, okay, in terms of sexuality and fertility and growth and so on. So it talks about, again, I've already said the new beginnings. It talks about arousal of desire, possible love affairs, liberation, regeneration, a new venture or enterprise. These are all possibilities. Now, these are all things that most of those within the collective are going to start to, you know, find themselves partaking within, if they're not already doing so. And that door is, although it's mostly closed already for the majority of those who have repeatedly made their decision in regards to what they're going to invest in this life, and spirituality hasn't been among them. Or maybe they've invested in a false sense of spirituality, you know, to help them to mask who they really are. Whatever the case may be, what we're seeing here is somebody's about to get their ass handed to them, sat down, and if they're willing to handle this in a mature fashion and start doing some of the inner work that they've been avoiding all this time, that there is still hope for at least some of you out there, okay? And I don't mean to sound, you know, negative or discouraging, but that's the energy, and all the energy for a year straight has been more or less pushing us in this direction. We knew this was happening. It's just becoming more and more and more focused. All right, so I'm going to leave that there, and I hope for somebody out there this will at least get you to, you know, really examine the decisions you have made up to now, that you have the courage to see it for what it is, get past your ego, because what I'm seeing here is a monumental ego. I mean, that's the very first, that's the overall energy of the week, you know, that we're seeing here, this egomania and so on. So you might have somebody in your energy collective who is, if not a full-blown narcissist, somebody who is at least, you know, making decisions that are exceptionally ego-based. They're not balanced at all. Not yet. So, and this can go hand in hand with many of the warnings that we've gotten over the last couple of weeks as well. All right, so I'm going to leave this one there. I'll do another reading here in a little bit. Until then, you guys, stay victorious. Take care of yourselves. God bless. I'll see you out there in Valhalla someday. Okay.